Hey, I wanted to do a quick video to show how to use the Modbox SDK that we're launching. So this is a Unity project that you can use to create Modbox mods and see how our Modbox mods are created. I'm open up, I can go to the test scene and set how I want Modbox to start and set if I want to start in VR or a few other debug options. So unlike other SDKs, Unity SDKs that games have released, in the Modbox SDK you can actually run Modbox through it. So it uses the mods that are included in Modbox when you downloaded it, including some of these large creation mods, the weapon mods, and I can load them in the Unity editor and inspect them, edit them, see how they work when I'm entirely through the SDK. So I can play Modbox normally and open my creations. And then using the SDK, I could like open up the profiler, or I could start editing some of the C# components. I can stop it and go to the inspector, start editing my character and see how it's set up, see what components it has. And yeah, so included in the Modbox SDK is a few mods that we created. The core mod is always enabled when you have Modbox running, which is all the entities are in they're in all creations. And there's also the UI mod for creating UI. And the sci-fi arsenal is included as another example of how to set up entities. So if I go into that, I can go into energy weapons and see how the auto rifle is set up. So I'll go into prefab mode of that. The hand is showing me how it's going to hold the weapon. I can see which components it has, and I can actually edit those components. So I'll go double click that and open it up in Visual Studio. And from there, I have access to all of the components that are included. So this is the core mod, which is pretty much where all of our components are that we created for Modbox. And then there's the core UI, which includes all the UI components that we created. So I'm editing I can go and edit the hinge joint, see how that's set up. And for actual instruction of how to code and really how to do everything with the SDK, there we have the documentation site. So this is on docs.modbox.com, and it gives you a guide on which Unity version to download to run the SDK, which is incredibly important since you're loading, since you're using mods that are included in Modbox. They'll only work if you have the right Unity version, and especially not an older version. But I can, this also goes through how to create a mod, how to create entities to be included in mods, how to make environments out of Unity scenes, and a little bit on how to edit the C# code. And there's also the C# editing guide, which will give you some instruction on which namespaces you have access to when you are editing C# code, because there's some security. You can't just use system.io and edit people's system. You're restricted. Which namespaces you have access to is restricted. This will tell you how to create your own entity components, how the variable system works, which is really the way that everything syncs online and everything saves is through this variable system, and how to expose stuff to MP script. So yeah, this is go through all the C# editing. Okay, so what I'll do now is create a new Modbox mod just to go through that process. So I'll go Modbox, create new mod. I'll call this example mod. And I'll create a C# assembly for it. And sure, I'll also create a system script. And I'll create the mod folder. So this it made this mod file right here, which just gives me a few options for how I want the mod to show up, what its description is, its name, its mod version, and for when I upload to the workshop where it gets uploaded. And then since I created an assembly for it, it added this an example singleton where you can add a few things, and an assembly definition file for your mod. So now I'll add some content to it. Right, so I dragged in this Battle Royale, Polygon Battle Royale pack that I got off the asset store, and I'm going to create some entities out of these buildings. So what I can do is I could see how the entities are set up in the core mod and just create them myself just by adding components and setting up the prefabs correctly. But an easy way to do it is to select them in the project, right click, and then there's a few options for creation right here. So if I have audio selected, it'll give me the option to create the audio clips from it. If there's an animator on it, it'll give me the option to create a humanoid model, which is just an avatar. And then from here, I can create entity prefab or projectiles or effects, but I'll create entity prefab. So this will bring up this window with a few options of how I want the entities set up. So because it's buildings, I guess I'll set them up as concrete physics material. Maybe I'll add a tag for, wait, no, for building. And then I think that's it. Oh, I'll set the output folder where I want these to go. So I'll create a new folder in my mod called entities. And then I'll set that as the output folder. And I'll hit create. Should be quick to create, and it should make an icon for each of the entities and add the right components based on what I selected. So let's see. So for every entity that's in a mod, it always includes this asset file, which is it's of type asset entity in mod. I'll go back to that, which points to the actual prefab, which is created. So if I can see this when I go into the core mod of how it's set up, like even the humanoid models, there's always an asset file, which gives a description, has this icon, and then there's the actual prefab, which is the thing that's actually created. And then some asset types don't need a prefab. For something like audio, for this audio play or die sound, I can set up its asset properties and then it just has a clip of the player dying. I can also see how stuff is set up, like the desktop windows or the VR tools, and edit those. And VR tools also have a prefab, which is actually the thing that's in your hand with components, and then the asset pointing to that. But I'll go back into these entities. So I have these set up. It created an icon for each of them, and I could go in and edit them. It automatically added a bunch of components, like the physics and such. And now I can actually go in and test it. Okay, so I'll go into mods and enable my example mod. So you can see on the example mod, it has this sim, like -sim in brackets, and that means it's a simulated mod in that it's loading it directly from the Unity project folder. So rather than loading something like the dungeon mod, I'm loading directly from Modbox, so it's a compiled built mod, but this simulated mod is loading directly from the project folder. So it's like actually the assets that you're still editing. So I'll enable that mod. I guess there's an error about no volume on something, but I don't have a good icon for it. So here's example mod, and I can place my houses. And then go into play mode to try that out. And yeah, that's really it for creating mods with entities out of Unity game objects. You can do the same sort of thing with humanoid models. So let's see if this has any characters. So I'll stop this. So it's got a few of them. Topless male, sporty male. All right, so I'll right click. I'll go create a humanoid model. Let's create a new folder for humanoids. I'll set that as the folder. And then I don't really think I need to set anything, so I'll create them. Oh, what is this? Oh, I need to set them as readable mesh. All right. So I need to edit this guy because this mesh is not readable. Oh, right. Model. Where's the read write? Oh, read write enabled. So because of a few things Modbox does, it needs to actually be able to read and edit the meshes. So I guess I had to enable it there. So I'll go try that again. Characters, sporty male. And then back to the humanoids folder, set that and create it. There we go. And it actually worked this time. So we created this prefab humanoid model. It figured out its hand rotation that it needed to have for this guy. And yeah, so I will then go into Modbox again just to try that out. Okay, I'll enable that mod again. Example mod. And then I'll place assets. I'll select with the asset type, humanoid model, and I'll place one of my dudes. And he's there. I think that's kind of it. So what I could do next is then actually upload my mod. So I should go into the mod file, and all these instructions are how to upload mods and a lot more on the documentation site, which will this will actually get updated in case I don't do more videos. But from here, what I want to do is build my mod and publish it. So build and publish mod. And what that'll do is it'll create the asset bundle for the mod and also publish it to the Steam Workshop. So I set it as public, so it'll um, be public for anyone to download in the creation, and it'll upload it to the workshop. And you also need Steam open to do this. It might take some time to do this, but you know what? That's it. That's it for the video. So thanks.